Hello, Dad.
Hey, Mark.
Today's July 31st, 2025. I wanted to ask you a question about your childhood. There was two experiences I want to ask you about. One of them, I don't know which event you were younger at, but you've mentioned the siphons in the past. Did you fall in that water and basically almost drowned? What happened when you fell in? What were
Well,
you doing?
I was fishing with my daddy's dip net, and some way or another, it was on the far side over there away from where the house is built, or was built in. But my sister, Dorothy Mae, and another girl named Tudor, she was there with me, and I was kind of showing them what I could do to how to catch fish with my daddy's dip net. And I was able to get it down into the water, and it's about the last thing I remember until I climbed out, because from where the pipes come down and the concrete wall was right there within about 4 or 5 feet of one another on the side where the concrete was built, and the siphons, big old 15-foot diameter siphons come down, and the water was boiling up. But I was able to grab that. There was a 2x4 stuck between the siphon and the concrete wall, and whenever I was going in, I grabbed a hold of that thing and dropped down with my feet. If it hadn't been for that 2x4, I'd hit with my head first on the siphon that comes down through there where the water comes. But I was able to, when I did fall, the two girls that was with me, they headed out to the house, and that's the last time I seen them for a long time, because I finally, some way or another, I got out on that siphon. The gut part of it is built on the outside that holds the thing together, because it's had some places where you could walk on the edge of the siphons and maneuver out to the concrete wall that I fell off. I didn't fall off that, but it was the one that leads back up underneath these siphons there. But I don't remember how I got out. I just remember I got out. I wasn't worried about the dip net. I don't know what happened to it.
How old did you think you were then?
How old was I?
Yes.
I think I was about probably 14 or something like that, maybe less, 13 or 14.
When all three of those pipes that are 15 foot in diameter are having water come through them and into the St. Francis River, it's turning a lot of force right there, isn't it?
Oh yeah, because it boils out regular. You can't, I had a trot line, which was 15, 20 foot downstream there, and you couldn't hardly run a trot line across there because the water was coming out riffling and kind of like a big wave, at times. But I was able to run my trot line, and when you're young, that old, you think you can conquer the world, and you don't realize how dangerous it really is until you get a little bit older and think about it. but water used to, when I'd run my trot line from one side to the other one, water would lap into the boat because there was a place that you could sit on the front of the boat there and put your knees where you could have a little bit of leverage there running your short line. But it was nothing for the water to lap into your boat, and I just didn't think much about it.
What happened with your parents whenever they found out that happened? Were they
Well,
upset?
somewhat, because I showed out a little too much is really what happened. But
The discipline was a little bit of excessive tough love, huh?
well, I didn't pay much attention to it. I know I got 2 or 3 good licks, and my dad, the licks are all the same, just about it.
You talking about on your butt?
On my butt is where it happened.
What did he use? His hand or a big old belt?
He had a belt.
Leather one?
A leather belt. And most of the time it was something like that he used, because he wore pants. And he knew how to use that belt, I know that much, because I was somewhat afraid of it. But it's good discipline. It doesn't hurt you. Most time they're not going to whip you till it just bleeds or something like that. Never did do that.
Well, you're able to remember that event 75 years approximately ago, and what happened whenever you did something silly or stupid. So apparently it worked. I got one other event I want to ask you about,
Okay.
and this is the last one. Was there a time when a man drowned in?
The locks.
Okay.
Yes.
And he was kind of a big man, and your dad came and got you, and you were in a boat, and what happened?
Well,
And the time of the day and everything.
well, it was after dark actually, and I think that's the reason the man fell in, because it was dark, and you get at the wrong place at the locks there where they lock the logs and the boats through. There was no guard over that wall. Only guard was the roadway that led across there was a little old bridge that we had to go over to get to our house, and that's the only type of walkway that there was. It was a regular bridge which held up all types of vehicles that went in there, but there was a 2-inch steel pipe run from the bridge over to the lock where my dad worked to manipulate the gates, to open and close the gates up. It was wickets you had to go up and down, and they let the water in and held the water back. And that pipe right there, I don't know whether it was even up there at the time or not. I think it was. But he fell in, and I was not at home at the time. I was out with my date. But he knew where I was at Margaret Ann's house there in Mark Tree. And he knew the number and called me and said, "You're gonna have to come in. I've got a man who just fell in, and I'm sure he's drowned." But me and another fella, a man named Sam Hartzell, he was the other fella that got in the boat with me down on the lower side and come around where the gates open and close, and my dad had the gates open because it's on the low side, and it was much shallower there, because I imagine the locks was probably I'd say maybe 6 foot deep at the time whenever he fell in there. But Sam and myself paddled around there where he fell in, and I was on the back of the boat with a spike pole, and when I was searching for him, because you can feel a body, you just hit us like a snag kind of, and you can tell when you hit something like that. And Sam was on the front, I was on the back, and I raised the body up, and the only thing we showing was his head part way, and his back a little bit. And I picked him up with a spike pole while he was still in the water, and held it up to Sam to hold him while I paddled out of there, but Sam wouldn't catch a hold of him. So finally I had Sam to move back where I was and hold him with a spike pole. And I was able to go around him in the boat and catch hold of the guy's body that was out of the water a little bit, his back. He was face down. And as we traveled out, it was it was 8 or 9, 10 o'clock at night by that time. And it was kind of a spooky thing, but I wasn't thinking very much about it. But I did think about it some. Here I was holding this body, and we still had to get him out of the locks and go around where there was some steps leading up from the water to the top of not just a gravel road that come in through there, and we had to get him up that embankment, which was, I guess, from the water's edge up to the top of it must have been about 10 or 15 foot, I guess. We had to go up side of that embankment with that body. We like to not ever got him up to the top or to the area where we could pull him a little bit better. And I remember after getting him up there, I knew what artificial respiration was, and that's the only kind we knew was turn him around, put his head down on like gravity, his head would be down, and start giving him artificial respiration, and it was get on at the back of his rear end and push at his back right as his hip bone is up there on each side. That was the only type of respiration that we knew how to give him.
Trying to push the water out of his lungs?
Yeah, because he was downhill, and whatever we could push out of him, and thought maybe, we was doing the best we could to revitalize him, but we never did.
Well, that's just 2 examples, and next week we're gonna start at that point, because you would have been, how old, 17, 18 then?
No, I think I was about 14 or 15 or something like that.
Oh, really? You're still around 14, 15?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna still stay around the age of 14 and 15 and come forward with more stories, and I'll ask you more questions.
I may have been a little bit older.
Okay.
I'm not sure, because if I was dating, I had to be in the 10th grade or something like that.
So you could have been 16.
So I could have been about 15 or 16 at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's still a long time ago, and you remember that. You remember it all. I wouldn't forget if I was trying to pick up a person who had been drowned and died and try to hold them up. But next week we'll start again.
Okay.